Today, Canada finds itself standing at the edge of a moment that feels both historic and deeply unsettling. Across the country, headlines scream with urgency, conversations ripple through coffee shops in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and nerves are running high in the halls of power in Ottawa. A phrase that once seemed impossible, a phrase dismissed for decades as nothing more than political posturing, is now echoing louder than ever, leaving Canada. That's right. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith and Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe have taken a step that many thought would never come, at least not in our lifetime. A step that they themselves frame not as a full separation, not yet as an outright declaration of independence, but as a move that undeniably edges both provinces closer to the door. And while Ottawa scrambles to control the narrative, while Prime Minister Mark Carney insists that the Federation is stable, and while the national media tries to downplay the developments, the truth is simple. Something big is happening. And Canadians everywhere feel it in their bones. Let's lay it out clearly. This isn't a declaration of war. It isn't tanks in the streets. It isn't provinces seceding overnight. But what it very much is a declaration of intent. Alberta and Saskatchewan have made their move, publicly signaling that they no longer see Ottawa as the final word on their future. Whether you call it autonomy, rebellion, or simply the first step toward independence, it is without question a political earthquake. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. South of the border, U.S. President Donald Trump has been watching closely. For years, Trump has hinted, sometimes joking, sometimes not, that America would welcome Alberta's oil, Saskatchewan's resources, and Western Canada's conservative spirit with open arms. Imagine the pressure this puts on Ottawa. While Mark Carney pleads for unity, Trump offers a wink and a nod to those who want out. If Danielle Smith and Scott Moe push too hard, they risk alienating other provinces, they risk losing support from moderate voters, and they risk Ottawa tightening the screws. But if they don't push at all, they risk losing credibility with their own base, who are demanding action, not just words. Tonight, they've chosen action, even if it's just the first step on a long, uncertain road. Across Canada, the reactions are as divided as the country itself. In Toronto, commentators are calling it reckless. In Quebec, some separatists are quietly nodding, perhaps even smiling, knowing that if the West makes a break, it strengthens their own hand. In British Columbia, there is confusion. Does the province lean east toward Ottawa or west toward its prairie neighbors? And in Atlantic Canada, there's fear. If Alberta and Saskatchewan go, what happens to the equalization payments that keep their budgets afloat? And hovering over all of this is the question of national identity. What does it mean to be Canadian if entire provinces openly declare they no longer feel part of the family? What does it mean for the flag, for the anthem, for the dream of a united country from coast to coast? Friends, I am not here to tell you that Alberta and Saskatchewan are leaving tomorrow. I am not here to confirm independence, to declare a new country, or to tell you that Ottawa has lost control. What I am here to tell you is this: the first step has been taken, and once that step is taken, the ground shifts forever. No matter what happens next, Canada will never be the same. But here's the angle almost nobody is talking about: the economic shockwaves. If Alberta and Saskatchewan are even hinting at separation, international investors start paying attention. Oil companies, banks, pension funds, they all want stability. They want to know if the billions they've sunk into pipelines, refineries, and farmland are safe. Not an official endorsement, not yet, but just enough to stir the pot and make Canadians wonder, if Alberta and Saskatchewan really did leave, would the United States be the first to recognize them? But before we get too far ahead, let's pull back. This story didn't begin today, and it won't end tomorrow. The seeds of Western alienation were planted decades ago, through federal energy policies, through equalization payments, through what many in Alberta and Saskatchewan see as a constant dismissal of their voices in Ottawa. Time and again, premiers from the West have warned, push us too far, ignore us for too long, and you'll regret it. Today's move feels like the answer to years of frustration. Now, people across Canada are asking the same question. Is this the beginning of the end? Is this the moment when the Prairies finally decide they've had enough? Or is this just another round of tough talk, meant to send a message to Ottawa without actually lighting the fuse? The truth is, no one knows. Even in Alberta and Saskatchewan, opinions are divided. Some people are cheering, waving independence flags, saying, "Finally, our leaders are listening." Others are frightened, worried about pensions, trade, healthcare, and borders, wondering if separation would create more chaos than freedom. And then, of course, there is the matter of timing. Why now? Why this week, this month, this year? Some analysts point to frustration with federal environmental policies, others to the rising cost of living, and still others to a feeling that Mark Carney's government simply doesn't understand the West. Add to that the fact that Trump is back in the White House, loudly proclaiming America's dominance and hinting at new energy deals, and you begin to see why Alberta and Saskatchewan believe the stars might finally be aligning for them. But let's be honest with each other. This move is risky. Already, whispers are circulating on Bay Street. What happens if Ottawa loses control of the Prairies? Does the Canadian dollar take a hit? Do interest rates climb higher? Or do investors simply move their money across the border, betting that if push comes to shove, Alberta and Saskatchewan will tie themselves more closely to the United States? And here's where it gets even more intriguing. The United States is hungry for energy security. Trump has made no secret of his desire to unleash American energy dominance. Imagine the leverage Alberta and Saskatchewan suddenly have. With their oil, their gas, their potash, and their farmland, they could walk into trade talks with Washington holding cards Ottawa can only dream of. Some call this reckless fantasy. Others call it cold, hard strategy. So now, the question falls to you. Do you see this as rebellion or renewal? Do you cheer Alberta and Saskatchewan for standing up to Ottawa, or do you fear that this will rip Canada apart? Do you believe Mark Carney can hold the country together, or do you think Trump's shadow across the border makes unity impossible? The truth will not be decided in one night, or even in 1 year. But tonight, we can say without a shadow of doubt, the Prairies have spoken, the West is moving, and the rest of Canada has no choice but to listen. Stay tuned. This story isn't going away. In fact, it may only just be beginning.